Hello out there. We're on the air. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. What a Monday we're in for. What a week we're in for. What a life we're in for. It is the daily Bitcoin journey. Actionable, logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners out there. The winning comment today for 88 sats. Bodhi, Bitcoin changes everything. Also known as Bodhi Zapping Hood. Kofefi. Nice cup of Kofefi this morning. And for those who don't know what Kofefi is, don't worry, neither do I. But I know that it ties into Bitcoin, and I know that it ties into Trump, and it ties into the strategic Bitcoin reserve. But that video was from Captain Youth called Bitcoin Money. Kind of interesting. It's a good song. I liked it. Had some lyrics with it. Good beat. Good lyrics. I don't know, what more could you ask for in a song? Plus, it's about Bitcoin. So shout out to Robert for that. That was one of our 10K zaps for the rescue dogs. So tomorrow is Tunes Day. Tomorrow is the Bitcoin Jukebox, which means that if you would like to request a song and bump, who's at the top right now? I think it's 2,100 sats is the top. But our last two shows, we had Daniel zapped 10,000 sats, played a Trump clip, and then Robert zapped 10K sats and played Bitcoin Money. Where's the jukebox here? I think it's 2,100 sats. So anyways, if you would like to request a song, if you want to bump out, it might be Duncan, 2,100 sats. Then you can send a zap either to Arnie's wallet or to rescue@coinos.com. There's Arnie's wallet. And make sure you leave the song with your description if you want to be featured tomorrow morning for Tunes Day. Okay, let me get off of this. I just realized that I didn't do the metrics today. Knew I was missing something. Anyways, not Duncan. Okay, I wonder who it is then. Somebody. Okay, well, where should we begin today? We got Daniel. Good morning, Daniel. We got Ian. Good morning, Ian. Happy Monday to you. We got Knox Bill. Cookie Monster. I don't know what that is. Cookie Monster, I think. Bitcoin Buddha. Morning, Super Stackers. Jay says, my wife says, Jay, I bought the dip. Such joy. Was there a dip? I guess it went down to about 96K last night, if we call that a dip. Bitcoin's buzzing. Chat's buzzing. The 88 Sats radio channel is absolutely buzzing. Jason, good morning. Good to see you. Duncan. Bodhi, the winner. I got to zap Bodhi right now. Bodhi Zapping Hood getting some sats of his own. Well, he's got a picture being a dad, so we're going to zap that one. Proud dad, Bodhi. We won't dox him, but 88 sats heading your way, my friend. There you go. Lifetime generational wealth there. 88 sats just zapped across the interwebs, across the Lightning Network. Okay, what else? Another frog. That's a new face. Good morning. I like the frogs. I like the chaos. Aren't frogs a sign of chaos? Lots of frogs. I like it. I actually started reading a new book yesterday. I'm going to be talking about it more. I got some ideas in store for the channel here, for the Living the Future community coming up. We're about halfway through our multi-generational wealth series. That's going to end in 2024. It's going to stay in 2024. But in 2025, kind of looking outwards for the channel, for the Living in the Future community, I want to shift gears a little bit, at least for a little while, in terms of talking about Bitcoin security, talking about, protecting your multi-generational wealth. I want to shift gears to like earning, chaos, earning money, earning sats, that kind of stuff, business ideas. So that's going to be in 2025. That's what we can look forward to. Dale, 1 foot of snow here. Yeah, we got about the same. You want to see? Lots and lots and lots and lots of snow. We shoveled on Friday night, which was excruciating. And then it snowed another 4 or 5 inches. And then we shoveled yesterday for a couple hours. And then it snowed again last night. So Bitcoin, if nothing else, take me out of this climate for like 4 months a year. That's all I ask. That's the only thing I want with my Bitcoin. I'm going to leave the rest to my kids, my family, their kids, for multi-generations to come. But all I want is to be out of this area for like 6 months a year, even 3 months a year. That's it. Just give me that Bitcoin, please. Byron Johnson's in the chat. Good morning, Bitcoin family. Good morning, Byron. Is it 20? Is it minus 20 there? Let me see what it is here right now. It's pretty cold. So it's 15 degrees. It doesn't say what it feels like, though. I'm guessing it's quite a bit colder than that. It doesn't say what it feels like. What kind of shitty app is this? Not that anybody cares. It's fucking cold. That's what we need to know. Bottom line, too cold. Sat Stacker. Good morning, Timber Crasher, one of our Bitcoin Journeymen. We had a couple new Bitcoin Journeymen join. One, Jummy. Welcome. And thank you for the support. Very much appreciated. Jack Brown says, good morning, Bitcoiners. 100K this week. Let's get after it, fellas and fellies. Is that what you'd call women? Fellies? Fellas are men. But what about women? Fellies? I like fellies. We'll go with fellies. Lori, good morning. One of our Living in the Future members. Oh, okay. Sailor bought another big buy. Yeah, we're going to talk about Sailor today. We're going to talk about MicroStrategy today. And believe it or not, this is going to be the last time we talk about MicroStrategy on this channel. Or at least in depth. If somebody asks a question about it or something happened, there's some news, obviously we're going to talk about it. But today's going to be like the last kind of deep dive that we do into MicroStrategy. Not deep dive, but I just want to clear the air here with a few things. There's just too much chatter online right now. I'm sick of it. That's why I titled this one, Stay Focused on Bitcoin. MicroStrategy, in my opinion, is a major distraction for people. Rick, smash the like yet? That's a great question. Yeah, I thought Arnie was here. Arn, where'd you go? Okay, we got 50 people in here, 23 likes. That is not what you want. Less than half. We can do better than that. Thank you for the reminder, Rick. S. My favorite altcoin is Sats. Yeah, I said that in a video on the weekend that I posted, and people like that one. It's true though. And I think that's what's going to be the next kind of catalyst for Bitcoin itself, is when people realize that, you don't need a full Bitcoin. You can buy Sats. You can get 1,000 of them right now for one fake dollar. So that's the next altcoin, Sats. Jason says MSTR every day. No, we're gonna be cutting off the MicroStrategies. Done. It's a final show talking about MicroStrategy. Sailor the Impaler. That's good. I like that. Hey, Jerry Loves Freedom's in the chat this morning. Nice and early there. It's 6:30 in Jerryland. He's up early. He's crushing it today. Stack Satoshis today so that you and your family don't have to work for those same Satoshis tomorrow. Great advice, Jerry. Good to see you. And thanks for getting up so early for the stream today. Buck 52,000. I'm waiting for Bitcoin to hit 100K to buy, sort of a celebration. I'm going to be celebrating in a different way than buying. I'm going to be drinking a nice bottle of wine and a ribeye steak with a good friend. So I'm looking forward to that. Colin, good morning. Like the stream. Thank you, my friend. Okay, well, we're caught up on comments. Can you believe that? Wow. It's Monday. We're full of juice today. We're full of juice. All right, check out the mempool. I don't have any metrics for you today. I'll give you a couple maybe while we're hot. All right, we are currently block height 871927. Via BTC was the white, or the last miner to win a block. White pool before that, bunch of racists. And the fees are incredibly low, incredibly 3 sats per rebyte. This is exactly what you want as a Bitcoiner right here. Difficulty adjustment, we're still 45 blocks up, looking like an upwards adjustment once again, because hash rate has been ripping. 3 sats per rebyte though. Here's what you want to do. Here's my advice for today. Join Living the Future, the community. You can do it in the show notes. $5 a month. You can try for 7 days. I mean, you could even cancel after 7 days. You could watch the video about UTXOs and cancel it after 7 days. I don't really care. Honestly, I don't care. I think you'll want to stick around, but at the same time, I just want people to be aware of UTXOs and managing UTXOs in these times. Because when fees go up from 3 sats per rebyte to 300 sats per rebyte, there's going to be 1,000 different people on YouTube talking about UTXOs, but it's going to be too late at that point. So join the Living the Future. Check out the multi-generational wealth course. You can go to collections. It says multi-generational wealth. And there's going to be a video on UTXOs posted today. We did it on last week, but I'm going to post the clip of it today. So it's like 15 minutes long. You can learn some about UTXOs. You can learn some about Sparrow. And then you can go consolidate your own UTXOs after watching that. It's going to save you a ton of money in the future, a ton of money in the future. So consider it. Like it's free. I mean, you don't have to pay $5. It's free for 7 days. You try it, you watch it, and then you save yourself an ungodly amount of money in the future. You have to be. You have to be thinking about this stuff as Bitcoiners. Buying is easy. Protecting it hard. UTXOs, managing it hard. Josh, good morning. Morning from Ontario. Thanks, as always, for the education. Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for being here. People's fingers must be broken today. Oh, I forgot about the Zap stream today. Are we live over there? Sorry, Zappers. We do have Arnie's wallet, though, here today for the YouTube Zap stream. So if you feel like sending any sats to Arnie's wallet, you can just scan that QR code. Oh, and we got a new request. Somebody has bumped. Somebody has bumped the 2,100 sats. The high bid now is 3,000 sats, and that's from Arnie's wallet. So if you zap Arnie's wallet today, we're gonna see it on the phone here. Holy, Zapstream is buzzing. We got Plunger over there. We got Daniel. We got Ahsoka, Letha. Daniel says, got my LB Hub set up on Start 9 over the weekend, not too hard. Well, you know what, Daniel? Today might be the day. Today or tomorrow, I'm going to buy a Start 9 server. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good for the channel. I'm going to talk about it. I'm a very dumb guy in terms of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to get it set up. I'm going to start running a node. I'm going to hook up an LB Hub. I'm going to do some other things with it. I'm going to talk about it here, share my experience. And I think it'll be very beneficial for the channel here, for the community. So that's my investment in Bitcoin. That's my investment in the community here. And I'm going to be doing that today. So I'm looking forward to that. I've been putting it off for a while now. I just haven't had the funds to do it, you know? been buying sats. Don't hold it against me. Okay, we got to top this up a bit here first before they cut us off, before they cut the lights off. Okay, pay now. Not enough of balance. Okay. Now what? There we go. There's my QR. I think we take it for granted how cool everything is right now. Like the fact that I just scanned the QR code, sent 1,000 sats to continue paying for my video streaming here. Like, on what fucking planet? How did this happen so fast? I didn't have to enter my name, my phone number, my email address. I didn't have to ask my bank. I just had a QR code on the screen there, and I sent Bitcoin. Phenomenal. So anyways, nice to see everybody on the Zap stream. It looks like there's a decent crowd in there today, so that's good. It was almost a ghost town on there for the Saturday show, which I thought was one of the best ones we've had in a while, but I guess people were busy on Saturday. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that one yet, I would say two things. Number one, the Saturday show, I think it was called This Is Not a 100K Bitcoin Party. Really good. It was 2 hours. I meant to do just like a 45-minute show. I was talking about refinancing your house to buy Bitcoin. And then on Friday, we actually had Jerry Loves Freedom. We had Chris from Fractal Bitcoin. And we did a 2-hour show on Friday afternoon on Fractal Bitcoin's channel. So if you need some stuff to watch today, that's about 4 hours of, I don't know. I think this show, you're probably going to hit your maximum for hearing me talk, but just in case. CATHIE or ha or cat. Out and about. Out and about. Are you making fun of my accent or what? Is that what we're doing here? Man, there's been people pretty hard on me in the YouTube chats lately, that's for sure, in the comments. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. Ian says, be cool when you show us the beach instead of the snow when Bitcoin goes up. Yeah, hopefully I'll be around to document the whole journey here. That's why it's called the Bitcoin Journey, because we started the show with a 15-minute episode with like 2 people in the chat. And when Bitcoin was $30,000 or less. S-Doc, good morning from West Virginia. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Good morning. All right, what do we got here? What was your experience on the Fractal Bitcoin? It was awesome. We're going to be doing that every Friday by LuxFitter, this Friday anyways. And maybe we'll change our mind after that. But we're going to be doing it this Friday once again, Friday afternoon. Myself, Jerry Loves Freedom, and Chris from Fractal Bitcoin. It's a good time. My favorite thing about Chris is that he's got a nice, cool soundboard. He used to be in radio. So he's got a cool soundboard. He's got a bunch of different clips. I don't know, what do you call them? Sound bites? And he's pretty good with it. I like it. Gives me laughs. You need more laughs in your life, I think. Retro Beaver, good morning from Calgary. 6-figure Bitcoin is just the beginning. Absolutely. A couple of folks from Calgary in the chat today. Good to see. The Texas of Canada. Josh says, Jor, what concern is there really from quantum computing hacking personal addresses, private keys with a known public key? Bitcoin doubter I know says that's why he's not in the space. Well, from what I understand where AI is right now in quantum computing, I know nothing about it. So let's start with that. To clear the air there. I know nothing about it. Zero. But from what I've heard, it would take current AI and current computing power about, I think, 1 trillion years to try to hack one. I don't know what it is. It's something very stupid. But I also know that it's growing and it's improving and it's getting better. And I don't know what the limitations are for it. So I think that there could be a day where AI and quantum computing could start hacking private keys? I don't know. I think it could happen. I don't know enough to really comment on it, but I always assume the worst. And so with that, if you keep that in mind, like you got 12-word keys, you got 24-word keys, but you have to keep in mind with those seed phrases, 12 words, 24 words, all of the seed phrases make up, I think it's 2,140 words. So that's the only combinations are the 2,140 words. All the addresses are a combination of those, right? So it's a insane amount of combinations that can come from 2,140 words. But if you introduce further entropy to that, if you introduce a 13th word or a 25th word that only you know, that only you create, that's case sensitive, like a passphrase, then that introduces a whole new level of entropy to it. So I would suggest that. I think passphrase, I would say at about, once you got 0.1 or 10 million sats of a Bitcoin, that's when I would start looking into a passphrase. There's decoy wallets, there's passphrases, and I would look towards a passphrase just for this reason. There's risk there though, because if you forget the passphrase, or if you lose it, or if you don't pass it on to your family members, they're never going to see your Bitcoin again. You're never going to see your Bitcoin again. So that's the risk there. But I think it is something definitely to be considered just for that reason. And again, sometimes I feel like an infomercial up here, but I really just want people to know about this. So episode number 3 in the multi-generational wealth course, we talked about passphrases. We talked about how to do it on a CoinKite cold card. So, I mean, just those 2 episodes alone, the passphrase and the UTXO management stuff, I'd say more than worth the price of admission. We got Spaceman's over in the chat as well. Let me see. I see a couple zaps have come in, so thank you for that. We got, that was yesterday, 121 sats this morning, 97 sats, good number. Connor McDavid, 21. And 420 sats. So thank you over in Zapstream for those zaps. I can't see who they're from, but I have some guesses for sure. Oh, and Daniel topped up the balance. Not as fun to zap without the ticker. I'm going to get it going today. I'm going to reach out to Kieran and see what the hell, how come the zaps aren't showing up. I see My Path to Fire's over there as well. And Semler's ripping out of the gate today. I guess the stock market's open, eh? MicroStrategy down. Okay. No, that makes sense. Sailor bought 55,000 more Bitcoin today, and the stock market the stock crashes. I guess he's probably selling some shares. I don't know. I've given up on trying to figure out the short-term plays. That's why we're ending the MicroStrategy chat today. Okay, Spaceman, I think this is worth talking about. Says, I got a Start9 server with 2 terabytes and 32 gigs this past July. I wish I'd gotten the 4 terabyte drive. Other than that, it is the bomb. Great unit. So what I would say is, on that is, if you are looking to get a Start9 server, if you want to run your own Bitcoin node, if you want to run your own Lightning node with Alby, or in Letha's case, she is, what did she say? Or did I saw something here? Oh, Letha's running Mempool, Bitcoin Core, and I think Electrum. Anyways, I'm very excited to get the Start9 server. So if you want to get one yourself, we actually have a partnership with Start9. Letha used it. She saved $55 or $60 US on the purchase. So if you want to buy one, I think they're about $1,100 US. And if you use the code 88SATS, 88 SATS, when you're checking out, you save 5% or $60. So use that code, then smash by $60 worth of Bitcoin. for your savings. American Desperado, good morning from the lakes of Minnesota. Hey, nice and close. Nice and close. We got a couple of listeners from Minnesota. We got a couple, or at least one, in the Living the Future community too. Brennan says, if you could derive a SHA-256 private key from knowing the public key, every trusted website on earth will be hacked untrusted. Here's YouTube's public key. Yeah, I mean, I'm with Brennan there. I don't think that it's possible, especially, I know it's not possible right now, but I just don't, I never underestimate technology. I never underestimate any of that because I don't know well enough, for one, but I also know how fast it moves. So is it a risk today? No, but I would start thinking about this stuff if you have a serious amount of Bitcoin. And don't confuse that with like me trying to scare people thinking that Bitcoin can get hacked. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm not knowledgeable enough to know. So I'm always going to lean towards the side of caution. That's all I'm saying. Right? Buck52 says, orange pill my brother-in-law. Oh, we don't say orange pilled on here. Opened my brother-in-law's mind last weekend about Bitcoin. All the drinks were on me. That's what we're going to say. Cheers to you, man. And I mean, I think we're there right now. Even though we haven't hit 100K yet, it feels like I got 2 texts last night from friends looking to buy Bitcoin, looking for information on buying Bitcoin. So it has begun. Daniel says, AI can't guess private keys, and for quantum computing to reach there, it will take a lot of time, probably never achieving that. We'll all move to quantum resistant addresses before that. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Hey, another Calgarian. Look at that, Jason. Go Calgary, go Bitcoin. I saw that there's quite a few people in Canada here in the chat, actually. I've been surprised. Somebody actually set up a meeting with me, I think it's today, from Ontario. Wants to talk some opportunity, we'll call it. Whatever that means. So I'm looking forward to that too. So there's just so much opportunity right now. That's what I really want to focus on in 2025. Is that, it's fun to talk about everything going on in Bitcoin. It's fun to look at how many Bitcoin sailors buying, but you need to worry about your own strategic Bitcoin reserve. That's what we need to be focused on. And we need to be focused on setting up our life in a way where we don't have to go to a 9-to-5 job and work for somebody else and make them rich and pay half of that to the government. That's what we need to get away from. And if you're hooking your card up to Bitcoin in any way right now, you're gonna see so much wealth in the future. So that's what I really want to focus on in 2025 is just the opportunities in Bitcoin right now. They're monumental. And it's not going to be like this forever, but it is like this for now. Daniel says, the only problem is stuck wallets, potentially Satoshis, which will not really be moved. That might be available at some point for the quantum breakers. Yeah, it's a good point. And that's a lot of Bitcoin in there too. How much Bitcoin is in there? 1 million sats? 1 million sats? Semler's ripping 8% up today. Eric Semler makes a new $50 million ATM, adding more Bitcoin to the treasury. I'm interested to see what happens to MicroStrategy today. I don't really understand it, but anyways, American Desperado says, hey, Joe. I think he meant to say Joar, but I don't know. Hey, Joe, what's your take on Tangent Cold Wallet? I can't answer that. I've never used one. So the only thing I will say is that it plugs into your computer, plugs into your USB drive, and I do not trust any wallets that plug into your USB drive. And I've also helped about 5 or 6 people in the last couple months move Bitcoin from their Tangent wallet into a cold card. So, I mean, it's really up to you. And I've talked about this almost ad nauseum to this point. in terms of your Bitcoin security. But I mean, that's like one of the main reasons I have a channel. So I shouldn't say ad nauseum, but yeah, look into the cold card, look into the Jade, look into the passport. I hope that there's been some people order the passport from QuickBit. I need to bookmark this for fuck's sakes. Okay, we're not going to bring it up right now. But if you're looking for a new device, at the top of this, the top of the show notes, it says Bitcoin starter pack or starter kit. The reason I did that is because I've just seen so many people, and I've done a lot of consultations with people where they order a cold storage device and then we have to push it back like 2 or 3 weeks because they need this, that, and this thing. So I said, let's just put one kit together for people. They can order this, and that's all they need to do. They don't have to worry about another USB. They don't have to worry about a cord. They don't have to worry about anything else. Everything, or a seed plate, a steel titanium plate, just give them a kit. It has the device, it has the steel, it has everything they need, and that's it. So that's what we did. So it's at the top of the show notes here. And for the first 8 people, we might have already hit 8 people. I have no idea. I'm going to reach out to Dale today. But for the first 8 people, you're actually going to get a free consultation with me too. I can either help you set it up, walk you through it step by step, or we can just talk Bitcoin strategy, talk about things you're worried about, talk about UTXOs, talking about key management, talk about inheritance stuff. So if you're in the market, that would be my suggestion. Okay, what else are we looking at today? Let's give away some Bitcoin. Let's get to the Bitcoin well. Zapstream's buzzing today, folks. It's good to see. Been pretty quiet lately. One thing I've noticed, actually this week, we haven't talked about this yet. I meant to talk about this on the Saturday show. But Primal came out with a brand new update, 2.0, I think it was, which is a big one usually. Whenever they move numbers, like 1.0 to 2.0, it's usually a big one. So they came out with a new update, Primal. And the one thing I love about it so far, and I started using this on the weekend, I posted a couple blogs there. I've been doing a daily blog every morning, I think, for about a month now. And I've been sharing it to the Living in the Future, the Patreon, and I've been sharing it to Substack. But with Primal's new update, they actually have a read section in there where people can post long form blogs on Primal. So I started sharing it there, and it's actually, I mean, I've already made more in 2 days on Nostr than I have on, well, I've had the blog for a while on Substack, in 2 years pretty much on Substack. So that just goes to show where we are right now, what's possible, what we're unlocking here. And so I was excited about that. It takes a little bit to do. So if you're a writer out there, maybe just shoot me an email and I can tell you how to do it. It's actually not too hard, but it is different because you can't just post on Nostr and it's not going to show up there. You have to do it through highlighter.com or you have to do it through habla.news. So you connect your private key to habla.news and then you can write on there. And as soon as you post it from Habla News, it goes into the read section of Primal. So it's pretty cool. I figured that out on Saturday. I took some time to dive into it a little bit. Okay, anyways, here's some Bitcoin for whoever wants it, for whoever's got the fastest fingers today. Let me bring her up on the screen here. Oh, that's not the right one. That's my first post on Habla. It's a cool picture, eh? Where am I even here? Okay, there we go. Okay, get your lightning wallets out. Get your fingers ready. And the fastest person to scan this QR code is going to get a minimum of 500 sats. But let's hit a big one today. Let's hit a big one. 1 million, 1 million, 1 million. Oh, there you go. 2,100 sats to somebody this morning. Don't underestimate the power, the future purchasing power of 2,100 sats. The crazy thing is if you scan that, if you won the 2,100 sats and you just kept that in a wallet for 50 years, that would be the equivalent of your family discovering a treasure chest. Legit. And you get it for free right now for doing nothing, for scanning a screen. That's where we are. You hold on to those sats for 50 years, never touch them, never think about them again, just leave them in that wallet. That would be the equivalent of your family finding a treasure chest. So I hope that's been scanned by this point. But those sats are courtesy of the Bitcoin Well, 2,100 sats this morning. So we've had quite a few people signing up on Bitcoin Well lately that I've seen anyway. Some people might be doing it on their own. But I think you're kind of crazy to do it on your own, because with bitcoinwell.com/Jor link at the bottom here, you get 5 free tosses into the Bitcoin wishing well, chance at 5 million sats. So every toss, you get a minimum of 500 sats and a maximum of 1 million sats. And every time you buy, every time you sell, every time you recurring buy, you get points for more sats. So my favorite feature here is the swap for free. Swaps are 0%. So if you got Bitcoin to move from Lightning to on-chain, if you've been building up some Lightning balances there, you can swap it into layer 1, get your own UTXO for 0% fee, free. It'll take 20 hours, but it will arrive. I've tested this out and it works incredibly well. So big shout out to Bitcoin Well, sponsor, partner, supporter of the Bitcoin journey, and a supporter of you guys. They give away free sats every day here. So show some love back. Get yourself an account, make a purchase today, get some Bitcoin, and try it out. I guarantee you're gonna like it. All right, what else we got going on today? I don't know. Matthew made it from Florida. Man, I wish I was in Florida right now. That's one thing I'll say for sure. Eddie Jordan, good morning. Finally caught the live chat. Well, it's good to see you, my friend. We got Larry Nixon. Jor, Bitcoin is crashing. Is it? Uh-oh. To what, 95,000? 95. Oh, 96,000. Wow. We are crashing. I wonder what's going on. It's crazy. It's just complete nonsense right now. That's all it is. Don't look too far into anything right now, because nobody has any fucking clue what's going on right now. So just keep that in mind. 96,000, we're crashing. I mean, somebody bought 55,000 Bitcoin this morning and the price goes down and their shares go down. That's where we are right now. I don't know what to say. Arturo, shout out from Texas, bro. Keep it real, keep it smooth, keep it true. All right, I like that. It's good advice. That's good advice, Arturo. I like it. Price does not matter, 100%. Jason Smash bought some similar today. I mean, if you're a watcher of the Bitcoin journey, I was talking about, and I know Jason will be able to confirm this, but I was talking about similar when it was like $15 a share. I said, watch, they're taking the same approach as MicroStrategy, and nobody knows who similar are. And when MicroStrategy gets too far out of reach for the average person, similar is going to be like the one that they can see. Similar to like an altcoin. Similar is like the altcoin to Bitcoin. But It's not, because they're actually holding Bitcoin. It's just the same kind of mentality. I mean, Josh says, join Living the Future. Can't wait to be further educated. I mean, yeah, it's there's education in there, not just from me. The nice thing about the chat and the community there is that if you have any question at all about Bitcoin or about a resource, an exchange, a product, anything, you're stuck somewhere, just throw it in the chat. There's like 80 people plus in there who can help you instantly for free. That's part of the network. That's part of the community. And we get some really cool things going on there right now. I don't want to say too much because I kind of want people just to join because they want to join, not for this reason. But very similar to like the 88 Sats project, we're working on a long-term Bitcoin venture club in there right now. So consider it right at the top here. I think I bumped it now for the Bitcoin kit, but it's in the show notes here if you'd like to join. Bitcoin Satan. Don't love that name, but to each their own. My brothers are too concerned about NFL to buy Bitcoin. Yeah, as most are. Felly for women. Oh, Felly. Okay. Felly. I guess they're called fillies too. Some people call women fillies. I don't know. I don't. I call them women. Tangem is card, not USB. Oh, is it? Okay. I've helped people with moving it off of Tangem. Obviously, I wasn't there to help them, so they did it. But for some reason, they did not feel comfortable with the Tangem. I thought it was USB. I'm pretty sure there was at least one version of it that was. I don't know. Brendan Murphy, Bitcoin only and MicroStrategy, Tesla, and the tax-free savings account. That's great advice, I would say. Okay, let me find this here. Was there any other news today that happened other than Sailor buying 55,500 Bitcoins? I don't know. Should we check it out? What else did I want to talk about today? We got MicroStrategy, some stuff coming on. I got to find it though before I start talking about it. Okay, we'll leave it there for now. Mate says, I don't think the average people will buy much Bitcoin over 100K, if anything at all. Huh. Well, the good news for you, the good news for me is it really doesn't matter. That's the unfortunate part though, is because it would be nice if people weren't so concerned about the NFL, if people were a little bit more interested in front-running countries. So the average person had a little bit more influence in the future. But, there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing that we can worry about too much about, because what's the point? The good news is that it doesn't matter if they do, because if they're not going to buy Bitcoin, BlackRock's going to buy it, or Sailor's going to buy it, or the US government's going to buy it. So there's going to be no shortage of money that's flowing into Bitcoin. It's just, I wish that people were a little bit more attentive to the grand scheme of things and what's happening here. Frogs destroy them. Popcorn, yellow striped smile. All right, I like that. New subscriber here from Montreal. Great channel. Are you on Rumble too? No, Rumble's, I like the concept of Rumble. I like what they're doing, but it is shitty. It's shitty to use as a creator, and it's shitty to use as a viewer, from my experience. So I've basically stuck strictly to YouTube and of course Zap.stream. I love the Zap stream. It just hasn't been working very good lately. But Zap stream's like the better version of Rumble. There's no censorship there. You can send Bitcoin, you can send Zaps instantly. And it's connected to Nostr too. So I probably won't be going on Rumble. There's just not worth my time. Camping Scene, good morning. Booyah. Looks like Rick won the 2100 sats this morning. Bipolar Bitcoiner. So are you going to sell anything this bull market, or do you not swing trade? Nah. No. What's the point? What are you selling it for? That's what you got to consider here. What are you selling your Bitcoin for? Are you just trading it for fiat? Because why would you ever do that? That's the dumbest trade in history. Swapping Bitcoin for fiat. Swapping real money for fake money. So what would I trade into? I'm going to hold my Bitcoin. I'm going to hold 98% of it for the rest of my life. I'll never use it probably. I mean, I probably will. I'll take on loans just like Sailor's doing with it as collateral. And but I'm never going to sell the Bitcoin. What's the point? Once you understand Bitcoin, once you understand what you're holding there, and once you understand how scarce it is, there's zero benefit to trading it. If you trade it, in my opinion, you're just going to have less. Some people win, but not many people win. But that's kind of my play, though, because that's why I'm so captivated by MicroStrategy, because you can actually buy MicroStrategy in a tax-sheltered account. And I'm not tied to MicroStrategy like I am with Bitcoin. So if I have a balance in there that's accruing tax-free, and I need to buy a new water heater or a new truck or a new anything, I'm just going to use MicroStrategy for that. My Bitcoin will never move. And it shouldn't, in my opinion. Bodhi says, ongoing orange pilling my daughter. She listens to Robert Kiyosaki. I told her skip the real estate play and head straight for Biddy. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. I watched, or I think it was a book, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think I listened to it on the audio. But I went through that too. I was like blown away by it, because the main strategy there that Robert Kiyosaki uses is never selling your assets. He used real estate. He's a Bitcoiner now, but he used real estate to do that. And so what he does there is he buys a house. He gets some equity in it. This is from the ground floor. Gets some equity in it. He goes to the bank, refinances the mortgage, gets more money for the value of the original house, goes and buys more real estate with that. The value of that goes up. The equity increases in that. He goes back to the bank and says, I want to refinance all these, buys more real estate with it. During this whole process, he's paid zero taxes on it. That's the whole thing that people should get from the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You could do the exact same strategy with Bitcoin. Maybe not yet, but you're going to be able to do this with Bitcoin. And I think that Bitcoin is going to be actually the preferred collateral of the banking system in the not so distant future. It's so obvious to me, because if you compare Bitcoin to the other assets and how they're used as collateral, the banks have to verify ownership of it. They have to verify the valuation of it, if it's changed, if it's fluctuated, how much you own of it. There's so many things involved there. It's such a lengthy process where if you stop making your loan payments, they're going to have a hard time selling your land. It's a limited market there in your area. They have to have a whole bunch of people involved, a whole bunch of fees involved. They have to continually revalue it, make sure that the loan isn't exceeding the value of it. Whereas with Bitcoin, they can just log on to a website and see how much your wallet has in there and what the value of it is in 5 minutes. And if you stop making your payments, they can sell that within the day. They don't have to find somebody locally to buy it. They don't have to get lawyers involved, the banks involved, none of that. They can sell that Bitcoin that day. So I think that if you start buying Bitcoin now and you leverage it, similar to what Sailor's doing right now, I mean, you're not going to get 0% interest rates, but you can use the exact same strategy. And you never pay any tax on it. That's the whole thing with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is that he leveraged his way up. He used real assets, the equity, the inflation helped him, the value of it. And he just kept buying more and paid zero tax on it because he never sold any. And I think that everybody should be using that strategy in Bitcoin eventually, or at least preparing for that. And that's why Sailor's company, nobody really sees far enough out yet. But that's why his company is going to be so valuable, is because the collateral that he's going to have is ungodly. He's going to be able to do whatever he wants and invest in whatever he wants. So that's the whole thing that he's building there, is just collateral. HL, hold on. I see we got a starred chat here. Say, hey, look at this. This is our newest Bitcoin Journeyman. Just sent a super chat of $24.99 RONs. I don't know what a RON is, but I like it. Thank you for that. Says thanks for everything. Welcome to the Bitcoin Journeyman, and and thank you for the super chat. The one thing I'd say to Bitcoin Journeyman, including Jummy here, or Jumi, that consider the living the future, considering canceling the Bitcoin Journeyman, and consider joining living the future. You're going to get way more value out of that one for $2 more per month. HFLM. I stopped worrying about the price years ago. Last time I worried about Bitcoin was at 16K. Exactly. Zoom out a little bit, folks. Here, zoom out a little bit. Hey, Craig's over in the chat. Morning, Craig. Good to see you. Great to see you. Drew says, hi, Joe. If you held Bitcoin in a cold storage as well as ETFs in your registered accounts, which would you sell first if you needed the money given the tax implications? Definitely the ETFs. Definitely. Just think about this. This is how I want people to be thinking about Bitcoin. You can earn some, you can buy some on Lightning, you can spend some online, you can play around with it a little bit, you can zap, you can do whatever you want to. It's your money. And it is unlike anything else in the sense that nobody can tell you what to do with it. But when you send that Bitcoin to your cold storage wallet, once it gets there, just leave it there forever. That's your family's Bitcoin now. That's your family's Bitcoin now. Farmers do this with land. Real estate moguls do this with real estate. Bitcoiners do this with Bitcoin. As soon as it goes to your cold storage, just consider that your family's. And don't ever think about it again. And that's why you don't need to get too concerned with the price going up and down, because you're not going to sell it. So what the hell does it matter? You should actually be hoping that the price stays down, because you can trade more fake dollars for real dollars and build that balance up. And that's how everybody should be thinking about this stuff. It's not trading, swing trading, but then you have some retirement funds. You can throw it into the ETFs, you can throw it into MicroStrategies, but you're not attached to those. Those are going to ride the wave with Bitcoin, but they're going to be tax sheltered, and you can use that if you need to. But oh no, Larry, come on, man. Come on. We don't need to do this at this stage of the game, do we? This is a bad sign. Bitcoin is crashing with that buy. I think we may have topped for this cycle. Larry. I don't want to. I'm not going to shit on anybody. That's for sure. That's not what I'm in the business of. But man, if you think we've topped this cycle, when the US government starts buying Bitcoin in January, it usually takes, like, if you look back to 2020, the last halving, Bitcoin went from $5,000 that March to $65,000 the next year within those 12 months. That's 11x. And that was before Wall Street was here. That was before Saylor was here. That was before Semler was here. That was before the U.S. Strategic Reserve was here. That was before most of us were probably here. So just where we are right now, we're exactly where Bitcoin should be. We're probably way ahead of schedule, to be honest with you. I did not think that all this was going to happen this fast in terms of the ETFs. Like, if you went back to, I've been doing the show for just over a year now, every day. And if you went back to November 25th, 2023, 1 year ago, and if you told me that Bitcoin a year from now would be worth $96,000 US, $140,000 Canadian, if you would have told me that the ETFs would be approved and there would be, BlackRock would have already bought 400,000 Bitcoin, and if you would have told me that Trump won the election and they were talking about buying Bitcoin as a strategic Bitcoin reserve, I would have shit my pants. So like we're way far ahead of schedule here. This whole thing has happened much faster than any of us could have predicted. And if you think about going back to the cold storage here, every time you send Bitcoin to your cold storage, it's there. So you don't need to get caught up in the day-to-day stuff or the week-to-week or even the month-to-month. Like this train hasn't even left the station yet for this bull run. This is where we're exactly on schedule. It's usually December, January, February. That's when things really kick off. And plus you mix in the US Strategic Reserve this time around. I mean, if you think that it's topped, I would gladly put any amount of money to bet that against you. Anything. S-Dot, before you collapse the civilization, you have to provide a transition monetary system, Bitcoin. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing you got to keep in mind here. Is that without Bitcoin, we would be in a lot of trouble, because the fiat dollar was designed to die. Every currency in history has died. So they knew it was going to die before they even started. And it's about 25 years over the expiry date right now. It should have collapsed in 2008, but there was nothing there. Funny enough, a couple months later, the Bitcoin white paper came out, and then the first Genesis block was mined in Bitcoin. And within that first block, it had a newspaper article, Chancellor Banks on the brink of collapse, I think, something like that. So Bitcoin is the transition. And it's happening right now. We're in the middle of it. We're lucky enough to be here right now. So don't ever get caught up in the price action, ever. Ever, ever, ever. We're exactly where we're supposed to be. And I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just expectations. That's all this is. It's just expectations. And your expectations, my expectations don't mean a thing in the grand scheme of things. David says, is there anything like Bitcoin Well in Sweden? It's a good question. Let's check it out. And this is a great resource for everybody here watching the show today for anything you need. Mostly exchanges, though, I think this is for. So you go to bitcoin.org. And it says, introduction, you can see everything you need to know about Bitcoin. But the resources here are what you want to look for. Exchanges. And then you go to Europe and Sweden. I thought that was Sweden. That's Ukraine. Doesn't look like there's any exchanges specifically in Sweden. There are some people here in the chat, though, that are from that area. So maybe they can help you with that. But it looks like there's a bunch here. The thing you got to look out for, though, is you want to find the Bitcoin only ones. So Bitcoin Well is Bitcoin only. Strike here in North America is Bitcoin only. But if there's anybody watching from Europe right now who has anything similar to Bitcoin Well that they can advise people in the chat, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, Craig says Safello. I'll put it in the chat for you there, David. Safello and Binance. Although I don't think Binance would be, I mean, that's an option to buy, but I don't think it's comparable to Bitcoin Well. Is it? I don't know. I've used Binance. Actually, the first, I started buying Bitcoin on Binance, and it was a shit show. If you're new to Bitcoin right now, I just understand how easy things are compared to even when I got into Bitcoin. Like I literally you had to go onto Binance, you had to buy Tether, and then it was Tether, but you had to buy it from somebody else. You had to send an e-transfer to somebody else. You had no idea who it was. If you saw my my contacts in my online banking, like people all over the world, I think it was an e-transfer. I'm pretty sure it was an e-transfer. But then you'd have to buy USDT, and then you'd have to buy Bitcoin with that. And then you'd get absolutely ripped sending Bitcoin from Binance to your wallet. They just charge so many fees, which I had no idea that they were even charging for me. But yeah, it's just so much easier now than it was. And so they would have, I'd send the money and they would have to approve it. And I remember there was one night where I sent the money, the guy fell asleep, and I thought I lost a couple $1,000 because he fell asleep and didn't approve the transaction. Wild. I don't know how that was even possible on Binance, honestly. That seems like more like a peer-to-peer type thing. But anyways, Joey says, I'll buy your Bitcoin, Larry. Yeah, there's lots of people who will, including Sailor. Bipolar Bitcoiner says, I've been into this stuff for a long time and I've massively amplified my gains just buying and selling once per cycle. I still have a hodl bag, but I like them gains. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like that strategy has worked in the past. But we just talked about 2020, who was here, what the environment was like. And I don't know, personally, like if I bought Bitcoin right now at 96,000, once we get to like 120, 150, 200, I don't think it's ever going to come back down from here. Like below 90, below 100. I could be wrong. And there's probably things that I don't foresee that will happen. But like, I just think that we're not going to see the crash that we've seen before. The floor is much too strong. And, you know, I do appreciate the strategy in terms of like keeping the hodl bag, maybe 80% of it, 90%, and just playing around with the other part of it. And it's clearly worked in the past. I just don't know what it's going to be like with Wall Street here, with nation states here, and with pension funds here, and with Sailor here now. Like, I just don't think we're going to go down like we have in the past. Larry says, I'm not selling. I just don't trust Sailor. He had a shady past with the tech bubble. So that's a great point. And I think that that's what people should keep in mind here. You shouldn't trust Sailor. That's why you shouldn't have too much of an allocation to MicroStrategy, because you have two counterparty risks there. You have Sailor, you're trusting Sailor with your Bitcoin, and you're trusting your brokerage account with the shares. Two parts of the counterparty there. With Bitcoin, you buy, you put in your cold storage, you don't have to trust anybody with it. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. So this is a good thing. You shouldn't be trusting Sailor, because if we could fully trust Sailor and we knew that there was no risk there, the counterparty risk, then MicroStrategy would make much more sense to me. But we can't. There's no guarantee there. I want to use Buck 52,000 says, I want to use the rich dad strategy with Bitcoin. We just aren't quite there yet. Yeah, I agree with that. We aren't there yet, but we will be. My Path to Fire says Peter Schiff doesn't like that Sailor's doing that with Bitcoin, calling it a fraud on Twitter. Yeah, Peter Schiff, what a low life. What a low life loser. Orange, good morning. Happy Monday to you. We got Ozan. Tough call. We shouldn't be going so hard on Larry. I understand I understand him. And I think that more people should probably think like Larry, to be honest with you. Not that we've seen the top, but not to blindly trust Sailor. Bren says supply and demand can be spoofed for an hour or two, then truth and reality sets in. Yeah, something's I haven't been following it all here, but it sounds like we're dropping a bit. But yeah, over time, over the long term, I think we'll probably go up a little bit from here. Paulo, just subscribe to your channel. Great content. Thank you, my friend. Consistent content. That's the one thing I think people like about the show. Been doing this for just over a year now, every single day, even Saturdays sometimes, like this weekend. Traded my Ethereum for Bitcoin many months ago, and I don't regret my decision. Yeah, there's been, okay, let's talk about this. Let's get to the main part of the show today. Let me bring it up. Okay, let me just get through these questions here, and then we'll get to the main part of the show for today. Colin says, what's your experience with Strike? Zero experience. I'm in Canada. Strike, wildly enough, is not in Canada yet, but I've heard good things. Lots of people like it. Lots of people use it to DCA. I personally, I have a recurring buy set up on Bitcoin Well, like $10. I think it was, I had it $5 a day, and then I changed it to be $15 a week. It's just, then you don't even think about it. That's the nice thing about a recurring buy, which you can do on Strike, you can do on Bitcoin Well, is that basically all you do there, I'll show you right now, just for those people who have a new Bitcoin Well account or thinking about getting one. So it's super, super easy to do. And you can do this on Strike as well, but I want to show you how to do it on Bitcoin Well. So you set up your wallet, right? So this is where you want it to go. I would suggest using a Lightning address. I would suggest getting a Coinos account and using Lightning just to avoid the UTXOs. Because if you did this, if you sent $5 a week to your on-chain address, you'd be in for one hell of a nightmare in 5 years from now. So make sure if you're doing a recurring buy, you're using Lightning, use Coinos. So this is where you want it to be going to. And then all you do is just go into your online banking. You set up a new payee. They give you, you just copy this. You copy the account number. You add a new payee. And within your online banking, you can go in and set your desired frequency. So my bank actually had daily as an option, but you can use weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, etc. You set that yourself and you choose the amount. So you do all that within your online banking. And then, so every week or every day, every month, it just goes automatically from your bank to Bitcoin Well, and it converts into Lightning. And again, make sure you're doing that with Lightning. Do not be doing that with on-chain transactions. You're going to create absolute hell for yourself in the future. So I'll throw that up there one more time, just in case there's anybody in the US or Canada who wants to do something like that. I don't think there's anybody else in Canada who offers that I'm aware of. The rich dad strategy is just basically using assets to buy more assets without paying tax on it. Pretty simple, right? Larry says, I have a feeling MicroStrategy will be the next GameStop. I mean, if you look at if you compare the two, they're much different. They're much different in a lot of ways. The only thing that's similar between MicroStrategy and GameStop is the demand, the short squeeze. Like there's only so many, I forget how many shares there are now, but like a year ago, MicroStrategy had like 17 million shares. So there's not a whole lot. It's not like an Apple where they have billions in shares. There's only so many MicroStrategy shares available. And I think Saylor owns a significant amount. The BlackRocks, the Vanguards, the Citadels, they own a decent amount of it. So lots of it's locked up for a long time now. And if you look at, the people who've been buying the convertible debt for MicroStrategy, like those people are going to hold these shares for a very long time. They're not just trading back and forth. So, I mean, that's kind of the comparison. There's the short squeeze aspect of it. But at the same time, like they're totally different. GameStop was a video game company that was like dying. The assets were, I mean, the real estate, maybe the inventory. MicroStrategy has 380,000 Bitcoins. That's what they're building there. You can't compare it to MicroStrategy. It's not even in the same realm because there's something there with MicroStrategy. There was nothing there with GameStop. So, yeah, not the same. GameStop is brick and mortar video games. They're not the same at all. This is a good call from Buck 52,000 here. Says Robert Kiyosaki puts a clear emphasis on buying assets, not liabilities. Good debt can help generate passive income, and it includes such things as stocks, bonds, real estate, and intellectual property. And I would say that if you asked him in 2024, like a revision of that, he would probably say it includes Bitcoin, not stocks, not bonds, not real estate, not intellectual property, but Bitcoin. TJ Mooney. I use Swan Bitcoin to DCA 40 per day from, wow. TJ. Swinging the dick around. Swinging the dick. I use Swan Bitcoin to DCA 40 per day from 2020 until we crossed 75K. Wow. A, nice work. B, don't tell too many people that. C, why did you stop at 75? I guess that's my commentary on it. Nick into it. Cheers, my friend. Cheers to you. Ginger says, at what point would you transfer Lightning to cold storage? So this is actually going to be one of the future shows we do on multi-generational wealth. I think it's going to be episode 6. So I'll kind of leave it for that. But I would say, like, I don't know. What point would you transfer from Lightning to cold storage? Everybody's different. It depends on how long you're going to have that Bitcoin. It depends on what you plan on doing with that Bitcoin. But I would say, like, my personal, what I do is, like, every 100, 150, 200,000 sats, every time you get to that, that's when you move it to cold storage and you create a new UTXO. That's my best. It's different for everybody, though. TJ says, I had it set to auto withdraw every time it got to, there you go. Oh, that's 1 million sats into my Ballet wallet. So, I mean, 1 million sats when now versus when TJ was doing that is significantly more. So that's why I think that, 100,000 sats is okay. Hey, we got Noah in the YouTube today. Good morning, Noah. Let me see what's going on here in the Zap stream. How are we making out? There was another 420 sat Zap, so thank you for whoever did that. I can't see it, which is very annoying, but thank you. And somebody sent 88 sats to Arnie's wallet in the meantime as well. So thank you for that. All right. So let's get to the main part of the show. Let's get to the main part of the show here. Where is this? Okay. So before we proceed, I want to hold myself to this. I want this to be the last video that I ever talk about MicroStrategy, at least for a year. I'm going to give myself a year window here. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about, if Sailor buys some, if somebody asks a question in the chat, or whatever it may be, but I'm not going to do any more specific discussions or videos on MicroStrategy because I think that people are getting distracted. And I think that we need to be focused on Bitcoin. That's it. Everything else is noise. Sailor is buying as many Bitcoin as he can. That's what he's doing. And I think that everybody should be doing that on their own because he's front running the US government. In January, the US government is going to start buying Bitcoin and start developing their strategic Bitcoin reserve. And I think that everybody listening to this chat today and later should be focused on developing their own Bitcoin strategic reserve for their family. So the other part there too is I think that there's a lot of great work being done by other people on YouTube, and I don't need to be just another guy talking about MicroStrategy. That's why I haven't done too many tutorials, because I think that there's people doing that. And that's why I'm going to stop talking about MicroStrategy too, because I think that there's people who are more knowledgeable. They've spent more time looking into this stuff and they're doing really good work. So this is going to be the last time I talk about MicroStrategy. Because I wrote this blog post today, and so I'm just kind of I have 8 big picture things that I want to talk about in terms of MicroStrategy. And it's not anything technical. It's not about convertible debt. It's not about the NAV premium, the net asset value, anything like that. I'm looking very big picture here, and I'm going to give you some reasons why I think that you should be looking into MicroStrategy yourself for a small portion. So I think that people right now should be focused on buying, earning, and protecting the Bitcoin. Because in a few months from now, you're going to be competing against the US government for Bitcoin. And we've never had an asset like Bitcoin before. There's never been an asset before that's truly scarce, truly fixed supply. Even MicroStrategy. I mean, I said a couple minutes ago, MicroStrategy this time last year, I think had 17 million shares. And I think that they already have more than 220 million shares. I'm pretty sure. Might even be more now. But that's a perfect example of there's no scarcity there. He can issue more shares. They can buy Bitcoin. They can make it worthwhile for the shareholders, but they can still sell more shares, issue more shares, and dilute your shares. So it's not like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only truly fixed asset, fixed supply. So building your own strategic Bitcoin reserve should be your top priority. Plus, there's 2 big risks involved with MicroStrategy. Two key parts. The fact that Saylor is holding the Bitcoin on your behalf, and the fact that your stockbroker is holding the shares on your behalf. So we don't know what's going to happen. That's completely out of your control. MicroStrategy could lose all the coins. Would it be good for Bitcoiners? Yes. Would it be bad for MicroStrategy holders? Yes. Could the stock market crash? Could things go down? Could there be a cyber attack? Could everything get hacked and you might not have access to those shares anymore? Yes. It's a big risk. Unlikely probably, but still a big risk. So Bitcoin has no counterparty risk. No counterparty risk. And does that mean that I'm selling my MicroStrategy shares? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I see MicroStrategy shares very similar to how I see Bitcoin, except I'm not tied to my MicroStrategy shares like I am with Bitcoin. I'm going to keep my Bitcoin in cold storage, 98% of it for the rest of my life. And I'm probably going to keep about 50% of my MicroStrategy shares for the rest of my life. So I kind of see it in the same way, except I'm not as attached to my MicroStrategy shares. And so I plan on keeping about 50% of the shares forever and using the other half as needed for maybe a yacht or something. So here, without being any sort of technical discussion or any sort of NAV premium debate, I just want to give you 8 reasons why I think you should consider buying a couple shares in MicroStrategy. And it's a perfect day to do it by the looks of it, since it's crashing. So number 1, MicroStrategy is shorting the fiat system, a system that was designed to fail. And about 20 years ago, it should have failed. So it's 20 years past its expiry date. MicroStrategy is shorting fiat. That's exactly what he's doing here. Number 2, they're using the greatest asset in history, Bitcoin, to short the worst asset in history, fiat. So those two kind of tie together, but I think it's important to know that he's not using real estate here. He's not using other assets. He's using Bitcoin. That's what the whole thing is built on here. Bitcoin, the greatest asset in history. Number 3, they already have 330,000 Bitcoin. And since writing that this morning, they have added 55,500 Bitcoin to that stack. So let me say that again. They already have 385,000 Bitcoin. No other entity on earth is going to be able to catch them. I know the US government has these big plans to get 1 million Bitcoin. Good luck. Not only will they'll be the only public company, the only company on earth to have that much Bitcoin. I don't think any countries are going to surpass that. And think about the implications of that. Like, think about if you agree with where Bitcoin's going in terms of the world reserve currency, in terms of repricing every other asset on earth, in terms of the collateralization of the opportunity there, what he's going to be able to do with that, it's insane. So I don't think anybody's going to be able to catch them. And that's going to be the advantage. That's the leverage there, is that nobody's going to get as much Bitcoin as MicroStrategy. Number 4, they're front running nation states right now. They're front running the US government. The US government has come out and said with this bill, strategic Bitcoin reserve bill, that within the next 6 months, the US government is going to start printing money to buy Bitcoin. They've told us that. This isn't the conspiracy theory that we think is going to happen. They've come out and said that. And I think it's going to happen much faster than that, because Trump is a businessman. He knows the implications of showing your hand and what happens from that. So he's not going to wait till next June to do this. I think the week he gets into office, he's going to write an executive order to start buying Bitcoin. He's not an idiot. And an idiot would let this play out for another 6 months and let everybody else, Saylor, China, Russia, the BRICS nations, all front run the US. That doesn't make any sense. And if there's one guy I think who would understand that more than anybody else, I think it's Trump. So that's definitely not priced into anything yet. I think a lot of people are like, oh, the US might do this. No. They're going to be doing this. So it's not priced in yet. It's not priced into Bitcoin. It's not priced into MicroStrategy, but they are front running nation states. Number 5 here is that most people, including your financial advisor, have no idea what's going on here in Bitcoin or MicroStrategy. And that's where the opportunity lies. The fact that in order to understand what's happening here with MicroStrategy, you have to have a basic understanding of about 20, 30, 40 different layers of the markets, of Bitcoin, of history, of money, of convertible debt, everything, the macro. There's just so much involved here, and there's hardly anybody who knows what's going on here. So that's where the opportunity is. That means that most people who will own MicroStrategy are not here yet. Number 6, they will be added to the QQQ index and likely the S&P 500 sometime in the near future. So it might happen this week, where they take a snapshot and that's who's in the new QQQ index. It might happen next year. But we know what Bitcoin's going to do between then and now. And the MicroStrategy share is going to rise with that. So one way or the other, I think that they'll be added to these indexes. They'll be added to the S&P. And when that happens, that's going to create massive and passive demand for the MicroStrategy shares. And keep in mind that the people who are going to be buying that, the people making up that demand, are very long-term holders. They're not going to be trading it back and forth. They're not going to be selling it when it goes up 20%. They're going to buy it and hold on to it for a very long time. So that's massive. That hasn't happened yet. It's coming. And that's not worked into it could be worked in a little bit to the price right now. But for the most part, I don't think that it is. Number 7, you can hold these shares in a tax-sheltered account. Your capital can ride the Bitcoin wave without having to worry about paying any sort of tax on the gains. So here in Canada, that's a TFSA. In the US, it's like a health spending account or something. I don't know. Daniel mentioned it a little while ago. I don't know what it is, but there's ways to hold MicroStrategy shares in a tax-sheltered account. Massive. And that's why that's something that you should look into selling. It's different than Bitcoin, where you buy, you hold it forever. MicroStrategy, if this is accruing in a tax-free account, that's what you want to be using for your life, to fund your life. And number 8, and this is the main one that I want to focus on today, because over the weekend, I had a ton of people. I shared a few clips talking about MicroStrategy, and I had a ton of people who were ripping me. Just like for no reason. They're like attacking me because I said 2 things. I said that in the future, Saylor could possibly look into selling some Bitcoin when the supply is so low and he only has to sell like 5 Bitcoin to buy a whole bunch of shares back. I think that's a no-brainer. It would benefit the shareholders. It would benefit the company. It'd be a very minimal amount of Bitcoin that they would actually have to sell. And people were like, 1,000 people came out of the woodworks and said, Saylor has said he's never going to sell any Bitcoin ever. They're never going to sell any Bitcoin. And I'm thinking like, okay, that's what, I mean, it's a good catchphrase. And he might, I don't know. You don't know. We can go on the fact that he said he's never going to sell. But I think that if there comes a time in the future where there's like 100 Bitcoin floating around every day that are up for sale, think about the value of those Bitcoin. And if he could sell 1, 2, 5 of those Bitcoin and buy back a bunch of shares to increase the benefit and the value to his shareholders, to me, that's a no-brainer. And I know it's easy. I don't think he'll ever sell 99.9% of the Bitcoin. But for things like that, where it makes sense for the shareholders and for the company, I don't think he's going to rule it out. So don't pretend like you know the future a decade out because you've been studying MicroStrategy for a fucking month. And just think about like the big picture here, because this game hasn't even started yet. He's just in the accumulation phase right now. He hasn't announced any plans. I mean, he's hinted at it, but like what he's going to be doing in 10 years from now is way, way different than what he's doing today. And people do not see that. They think they look at the price today, they look what he said last week. But if you look what he's been saying for the last couple of years in terms of the vision of MicroStrategy, so that's what number 8 here is. This is only the beginning. They have much bigger plans for MicroStrategy. They will utilize Bitcoin and Lightning in their current operations. They will either start or acquire a bank and deal in Bitcoin. They will offer fixed income bonds on their Bitcoin. They will start or acquire insurance companies who currently hold 0 Bitcoin. There is no limit to what this amount of collateral can do. No limit. So I think that Saylor will continue taking on debt as he's been doing, as long as the spread, as long as the premium stays high there, as long as it makes sense for people who are giving Saylor money, as long as that makes sense, and as long as the demand stays high. But eventually, I think that the big money, the people who are buying his bonds right now, I think that at some point in the future, they're going to actually be able to buy Bitcoin and hold it themselves, which makes a lot more sense. Do they have that ability today? No. That's why this is so enticing to those companies, to those entities, because they can't do that today. But in the future, they're going to be able to. They're going to have a whole department dedicated to buying Bitcoin and protecting their Bitcoin. Why would they trust it with somebody else when they have the capital, they have the infrastructure in place to hold their own Bitcoin? So what Saylor's doing right now, there's not always going to be a demand for that. This isn't going to be like a 20-year thing where he just keeps taking money and buying Bitcoin. That doesn't make any fucking sense. It's working today because he has the demand for it. He's not always going to have that demand. But what he is going to have at the end of this is an incredible amount of collateral, more than anybody else on the planet. And when you start putting that to work, people are like, oh, he's not going to buy any businesses. He's just going to keep taking on money and buying Bitcoin. I'm like, no, this is like a 3-year plan for MicroStrategy. After that, that's when the fun starts. With banks, with insurance companies, with any business, any operation that's earning money, he converts that into Bitcoin. The convertible debt option isn't always going to be around for him, but he's going to have enough Bitcoin where he can issue fixed bonds on the Bitcoin that he doesn't have to deal with this stuff anymore. It's going to be a much different buyer of those bonds. And it eventually will dry up. So that's why it's not a Ponzi. That's why it's not a pyramid. He's basically just using his resources to buy as much Bitcoin as possible and use that in the future as his collateral. That's how he's going to fund this whole thing. Right? So the rules will change, the demand will decrease, but by this time, MicroStrategy will be the #1 company on the planet. And once they get to that #1 spot, they're never going to move from there. So you have the ability today, with this foresight, with this vision, you know what's coming here. There are risks, obviously, but that's why I said just get a couple shares and hold on to them for a very long time, because those 2 shares that you buy today are probably going to be 20 shares in a year from now after another stock split. And then you hold on to those for another couple of years, and all of a sudden you have 200 shares in MicroStrategy. And so the issuance of shares is going to keep going up. It's not really an issue though if they're a stock split, but you know what I mean. The outstanding and diluted shares will continue to go up. The Bitcoin will continue to go up, but you have to understand what's happening here. All right. So when that happens, that's when Saylor shifts gears and starts putting the collateral to work to earn even more Bitcoin. And nobody understands how truly scarce this Bitcoin is. That's why I say when, in 10 years from now, when there's hardly any Bitcoin, not like there are today, you have to think further out here. But let's say there's 10 Bitcoin available for sale each day. That's how much this has dried up. That's how many times it's moved into these long-term holders that hasn't moved for 10 years. So there's 10 Bitcoin a day for sale. Think about the value those Bitcoin are going to be worth. Think about what the value of MicroStrategy is going to be worth at that time. And so again, there's a lot of people who shit on me for saying this, but he could at that time just sell 1 or 2 Bitcoin, buy back a bunch of shares, and that's a very big benefit to the shareholders. And I mean, if you're talking 1 or 2 Bitcoin, somebody said that I suggested he sells 10% of his Bitcoin. Never fucking said that at all. Not even close to that. But you sell 1 or 2 Bitcoin, buy some shares back without even putting a dent in your stack. By that time, you'll probably have 500,000 Bitcoin, maybe more. So that's kind of what I was getting at there. But you just have to think differently. You have to think about where this is going, not what it looks like today. That's the main thing that I wanted to get across today. And so the 2 morals of the story here. Never sell your Bitcoin. Never sell your Bitcoin. And the second one is that if you do have some capital in a retirement fund, move it into MicroStrategy. They are going to be the fastest horse. They are going to be the vehicle that provides Bitcoin to flow where it should, it gives the ability for it to flow all around the world as a global currency to the people who have the most capital to be spending on it. So there will absolutely be a movie made about this in the future. The Big Short, which we've all seen, Michael Burry made $80 million off of that, or $800 million off of that gamble, shorting the U.S. real estate market. And Saylor's already up, 10 billion, 20 billion? And this thing hasn't even started yet. So Saylor's going to be the first trillionaire. You do have the ability today. You're lucky enough to be born during this time in history, and you can attach your card to that MicroStrategy rocket, jump on, and buckle up. That's it. That's it. That's my rant on MicroStrategy. And that's the last time we're going to talk about it. Hold me to it. Hold me to it. Okay, let's catch up on some comments here. A classic Jor list incoming. I feel like people like lists. It's easier to separate. It's easier to remember. And, it usually flows pretty well together. So that's what I got. TJ says, I stuck to my goal of stopping when we hit 75 to use the funds to get a Tesla and a solar system for my off-grid properly. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Barry says, MicroStrategy doesn't even hold the coins. They own Coinbase IOUs. That's the other part of it too. That's the other part of it. Well, they always know. I think that probably in the next little while, they're going to move their Bitcoin from Coinbase into BNY Mellon. Because I think they were the only bank who got approved to custody Bitcoin. And I think Arnie just showed up. Oh, Arnie. Hello? Earth to Arnie. He's shy. He's a shy guy today. That's okay. You can see his ears there, his big pink ears. Yeah, that's, I mean, I was just bugging you, TJ. Not trying to brag at all, just showing how amazing the DCA strategy is. Okay, hold on. I got to plug my phone in here. Give me 1 second. Too much action. Okay. Not trying to brag at all, just showing how amazing the DCA strategy is. Yeah, that's the key. That's what I would say. That's why I suggest using Bitcoin well, or like a strike where you have the ability to DCA without you even knowing about it. It's the best way to do it. S. Dot says, you ever go down the Q rabbit hole, any connection to Bitcoin? Yeah, I mean, that's actually what led me to sitting in this chair right now talking to you. Is it real? I don't know. I think it is. Everything that's happened everything that's happened in the last 4 years was basically predicted by that, and it gave a ton of information to a ton of people, and we're seeing that. We're seeing the consciousness of the universe here all kind of going towards that same direction. So, you know, there's a bunch of it that I don't necessarily subscribe to in terms of like the super detailed analysis of, you know, this post and this number and this statement, but there is something there. And it was actually that led me to Bitcoin. And once I figured out, and the people who watch the show every day can verify this, but I said Trump's a Bitcoiner. He hasn't announced it yet, but just know that Trump is a Bitcoiner, and this whole thing has been in the plans, in the works for a very long time. None of this happened by accident. Just know that. Is it for the good or the bad? I would argue the good, because there's no way that a bad actor would benefit from Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. And actually, speaking of that, if you follow that stuff, and if you follow I forgot to tweet this today. Shit, I had it all loaded up. Sorry, Twitter. Not sorry though. Dan Scavino, which is, I don't even know what he is for Trump. Pretty much his right-hand man. He tweeted this today, and this is something that ties into Bitcoin, I believe, anyways. Kofefi. That's what we started the show with today. He did it. Kofefi. So I think that has ties to Bitcoin. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different moving parts within that, but I am a subscriber to it myself. And you just have to think objectively about this. Even though Trump came out and said that he thought Bitcoin was a scam, at the same time, his number one ally, General Flynn, who is tied to this kind of stuff, he tweeted about Bitcoin back in 2015. Said that this is something along the lines of, this is the future, Bitcoin. It's a Bitcoin ATM. He tweeted about it in 2015. And then you had Melania. She wished a happy birthday to Satoshi. I think it was October 31st, 2021, or January 3rd, one of the two. But she wished a happy birthday to Satoshi. Melania on Twitter. We knew that his sons were both Bitcoiners. We knew that Ivanka had already started accepting Bitcoin for her real estate properties. We knew that Trump worked, I think his assistant comptroller when he was the president was Brian Brooks, which was a Bitcoiner. And even in the last couple of months, we've seen his team of people, his transition team, Howard Lutnick, Vivek, Elon, JD Vance, all known Bitcoiners. So I think if you think that Trump is just getting into Bitcoin and he's reading the Bitcoin Standard right now, I think that you have some work to do. Just my opinion. And if you want more information on this, I highly suggest watching the video Robert Breedlove and G Money. It was posted about a week and a half ago on Robert Breedlove's channel. If you want more information, I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but he goes into the whole thing. And it involves JFK. It involves the Vegas shooting. It involves the central banks. I mean, Trump's number one priority when he got into office in 2016 was to take out the banks, the central banks. So that's kind of been going on in the background here for a long time. And we're kind of seeing it come into light now. Craig over in Zap.stream said, maybe Sailor buy Custodial Bank. They hold an important patent. What's the patent, Craig? I don't know about that. What's the patent? Yeah, this is a good point from Barry. It says part of it held with Fidelity, custody, and the other part with Coinbase. I'm bullish on MicroStrategy, but I don't think people realize they self-custody zero Bitcoin. Yeah, I think that they'll be moving to BNY Mellon, and they'll probably own BNY Mellon in a decade from now. And this is a good point too from Jason. It's very difficult for corps to self-custody Bitcoin. You think Sailor should have the keys to a company in his bedside drawer. And so just to kind of dive in a little bit further into this, like just to understand where this whole thing is going in terms of every single company on the planet is going to hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Every single one. And the ones who don't are going to fail. So you consider that. You consider how much demand there is going to be for corporations adopting a Bitcoin strategy, corporations needing someone to protect their Bitcoin, whether that's a contracted out counterparty risk there, or if they hire a team of Bitcoiners to hold their Bitcoin. But it's coming. So the point there is that just understand how valuable your Bitcoin is. Think about it like this. Think about it like this before we go into the next part here. There are 60 million millionaires on Earth, ish. There are 21 million Bitcoin. So do the very simple math there. Very, very simple math there. 60 millionaires, 21 million Bitcoin. Forget the lost coins, just go with 21. Very good spread there. But you also have to consider how many companies there are out there. Let's say that I think there's 300 million, maybe 30 million, one of the two. Either way, let's say that 5 million of those companies have money that they're going to allocate to Bitcoin. So you get 61, and they have much more than $1 million there, if that's what we're talking. So you have 60 millionaires, let's say 1 million companies with a lot of money to buy, and there's only 21 million Bitcoin. All that's coming. All of that's coming. Plus, plus countries with the ability to print money and buy Bitcoin. So, I mean, overall, countries printing money to buy Bitcoin, you know, it's kind of offsetting, but not the other part. The millionaires, the companies, they're going to be using their current capital in other parts of the market, and that's going to flow into Bitcoin. So that's the first part. Just understand how scarce Bitcoin is. And the second part there is don't underestimate your knowledge. If you're somebody in Bitcoin, if you spend all day like me listening to Bitcoin podcasts, watching Bitcoin videos, do not underestimate how much value that's going to have in the future, because you're going to have all these companies. All of these companies are going to need someone to help them buy, store, manage, protect their Bitcoin. And there's a massive disconnect there between the demand, the companies who need that, and the supply, the people who will be able to help them with that. So that's what I want to focus on for 2025 is more so not the price, not the hash rate, not MicroStrategy, but the opportunities in Bitcoin. And if you can start taking the right steps, if you can start laying out a plan for yourself and how you're going to take advantage of this very, very, very unique time in history, that's what I want to be focused on. Okay, let's see this patent here that Craig shared. Oh, okay, this is interesting. So Custodia Bank is Caitlin Long's bank, right? So Craig shared this over in Zapstream. Patents assigned to Custodia Bank. So this is a cryptographic token with separate circulation groups. The patent number there, the abstract, a custom crypto token and smart contract that is configured to exist in one of two groups and is issued by the same bank or depository that also collects corresponding fiat. The two groups are a circulation group and a non-circulation group. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I know what the hell's happening there, but you can see the inventors. Yeah, this is Caitlin Long's bank. Caitlin Long, Brian Bishop, Zev Shminko, and a few other people. So, I mean, what does that mean? What does that mean? If you understand, though, like, just put that aside. Okay, so Craig says, think all banks holding digital assets will need this patent or license to it. Okay, that's fair. And do not be, if you watch Saylor's recent talk, and I think that this is what a lot of other people are missing right now too, that Saylor hasn't spent too much time talking about. Again, he's been very focused. He's been laser focused on this next 3-year strategy of deploying $42 billion into Bitcoin. That's where his focus is right now. That's what he's talking about. And that's what everybody is thinking of right now. But he's seeing so far beyond this. And if you listen to his most recent chat at Cantor Crypto, he talks about this kind of stuff. He talks about how all assets, all capital are going to be tokenized. And you're going to have the ability to buy and sell Apple shares on your wallet that's attached to Bitcoin, that's attached to your stable coin, and you're going to be able to swap that atomically back and forth. And that patent might have something to do with that. But he also said that you're going to have, once there's a framework, once there's regulatory framework around digital assets, they're just going to start flowing. And that's going to create so much new productivity. And that's why when people say, well, Bitcoin can never get to $1 billion a coin because there's only $900 trillion worth of assets in the world, the math doesn't make sense. Yeah, because you're thinking in that old system. You're not thinking about where we're going to here. Because when you have the ability to tokenize Joe Rogan or Taylor Swift or the 88 Sats radio channel, that creates so much new capital. And all of that is going to be kind of secured. The underlying asset there is going to be Bitcoin. That's what everything's going to be repriced by, Bitcoin. And Saylor's going to have all of that, or a lot of it, the most out of anybody. And so the ability and the leverage that he's going to have in the future is something that we can't even fathom right now. So the patent links to Bitcoin and Ethereum stablecoins for transacting. Yeah, I mean, that's, I think that we'll probably see in the next decade, we're going to see a lot more power, a lot more influence shift away from countries, like country bonds, like we've seen, like we've had in the old system. And we're going to see much more of like the MicroStrategy, the BlackRocks, them tokenizing their own little currency where it's backed by their Bitcoin and it's backed by their shares. So the whole economy is going to be tokenized. Larry Fink said it. Saylor talks about it. Anybody who's been paying attention to this space has been talking about it. We're just not there today, but that doesn't mean it's not coming. So thanks for sharing that, Craig. That's pretty interesting. I can't say that. Cryplexity? Okay, Cryplexity. In a Bitcoin world, how would government fund large projects that lose money but benefit society? Think transit systems or public libraries. Lose money but benefit society. I mean, in a Bitcoin world, you take away their ability to create money and give it and throw it at nothing. And that's what we've seen pretty much our whole lives, is a centralized system that has the ability to create money and spend that on whatever they want without any sort of repercussions of the return on that. And Bitcoin's going to change that because it takes away their ability to create money. So Bitcoin's going to change everything. Don't just look at the transit systems and public libraries. Like, it's going to literally flip everything that we know today on its head for the better. Everything. Nothing is going to be immune from the implications of what Bitcoin's going to have on this world. Nothing. Mikkel, sup, you sat stacking salutes. I'm getting better at saying that. Good morning, Mikkel. Okay, well, another 2-hour show today. How does this keep happening? That's what I want to know. Oops, I almost emergency called on the phone here. Hold on. I'm just checking Arnie's wallet here. Okay, I just don't want to miss any zaps coming in. I don't want to miss any zaps. Okay, so we'll drag this out a little bit longer. There's still more chats. We don't leave any chats behind, which is becoming a problem for my time, but that's okay. Yeah, we've been talking to those for 2 hours now. So they're about 55,000 Bitcoin and the price dips. You think someone like Sailor wants to have a counterparty risk holding the Bitcoin, not himself, but trust Coinbase? Nah. TJ says, I think a MicroStrategy is 2x leverage play on Bitcoin, so kind of curious how it'll play out if a bear market comes again. I mean, again, I'm done talking about MicroStrategy. If you want to know what other people think about this, there's a lot of channels now talking about how this could play out. Elon is a shitcoiner, though. I don't think he is. I don't think that he is. I think he just likes having fun. Yeah, I mean, this is the other thing too. Like this is what I said, and this is what caused all the drama on the channel over the weekend. I said, you know, there's no way Coinbase has all that Bitcoin to fund the ETFs and individuals. I just think that there's something missing here. There's a leak in the Bitcoin ecosystem right now, and I don't know where it is. That's why I said, like, I trust Sailor. I think that they have the Bitcoin. I think that because they're a public company, they have to prove that. There's auditors that prove that. But that's still thinking in the old system, right? Because like that's the beauty of Bitcoin, is that you don't have to trust auditors anymore. Bitcoin, every 10 minutes, it self-audits itself. You can look at it anytime. You can verify it. You can. It audits itself, and you can verify that anytime. But even with MicroStrategy, like they say they have Bitcoin, they provide that in their quarterly updates as a public company. The auditors verify that. But we've seen so many issues in the past with auditors being like associated or paid off by the companies. That's the whole thing here. That's the risk with MicroStrategy. And that's why I said I'm not buying any more MicroStrategy shares until they actually show the Bitcoin. Because they have the Bitcoin. Sailor, every time they buy Bitcoin, he announces how much they bought, the cost of it, everything. They're a public company. Everything's transparent there. What would be the harm in sharing your Bitcoin addresses? Setting up a website exactly like El Salvador has and saying, these are the transactions. This is the balance. You can look at it yourself. Everything else is available out there. Like it has to be as a public company. So what's the harm in just showing what addresses they are, showing that you still have the Bitcoin? Because when your whole company relies on that as like your underlying asset, you should be very transparent in showing that it's there. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Arnie's had enough MicroStrategy chat for today. TJ says, awesome you chat with your viewers. I mean, that's this whole show. I think that's why people show up every day, is because we interact. I usually spend about 5 or 10 minutes, you know, yelling at the sky. But for the most part, yeah, it's fun. It's fun to me. I love doing this. But it says, what do you think about physical funded Bitcoin collectibles like Cassius, Liana, BTCC? I don't know what any of these things are. I wouldn't worry about that. TJ, look at the title of the show today. Stay focused on Bitcoin. Stay focused on Bitcoin. Stay focused on building up your own strategic reserve for your family. Josh says, can we get some Arnie merch? Oh, that's a good idea. I mean, what would we put on the merch, though? Just a picture of Arnie? He does look pretty good as a cartoon. He's a good looking dog. Kurt says Bitcoin protocol is transparent, so simple to just verify the addresses and allocation. That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like we have the ability to do this now, right? Like this isn't hard stuff to do. Hey, MicroStrategy, you have 380,000 Bitcoin. Okay, prove it. That's it. When your whole valuation depends solely on that number, it's important that you should be providing that number, right? Like if there's a company who is doing this with real estate and they own property in Manhattan, and I'm sure they already do exist. There's real estate trusts that have this kind of thing where they're kind of tokenized in shares. And you can see the building. You can walk down the street and you can see that the building that you invest in is there. That's the company. That's the trust, the real estate investment trust. That's what you're buying. With MicroStrategy, you're buying Bitcoin as the asset. So they should be able to show that. I don't think that that's too much to ask. Is it? I don't know. Am I crazy? Am I talking to myself here? I don't know. Please check out Cassius coins. Okay, I'll check them out. I'll check them out. After I just said don't be distracted. I mean, this whole thing, if you look at Sailor, if you look at MicroStrategy, if you look at Bitcoin, if you look at Custodia Bank that Craig was just talking about there, like just understand that every asset on earth right now is going to be tokenized. Every asset, whether that's intellectual property, whether that's Joe Rogan, Taylor Swift, 88 sats, a building in El Salvador, a hotel, everything is going to be tokenized. And the best thing that you can do right now is you can take some of that that's going to be used to fund all of that whole new industry, essentially, and you can take custody of that yourself. You can hold that. What's this say? Mate, tech question. I just sent some Bitcoin to Kraken, but now my blockchain balance shows much less than my Trezor. Just trying to see how everything works. I only use one address. Whew. This is a good question here. And this is something that I spent probably 2 or 3 years in Bitcoin without not even knowing what was happening here. So this is a great question. 2 things. Number 1, the balance you had in Kraken compared to your Trezor was probably the transaction fees, as Mikkel said here. They don't show you that though. And I talked about this at the start of the show. I said Binance, when I use Binance, they absolutely ripped me. Like I was paying hundreds of thousands of sats to send Bitcoin. This was when it was much cheaper, but like they're not transparent with it at all. That's why you don't use Kraken, Binance, Coinbase, because they're ripoff. Use Strike. They have free withdrawals. Bitcoin Well, free withdrawals. You don't have to worry about this. Whatever you had on whatever you bought, that's what you get. There's no transaction fees there. So pay very close attention to the exchanges that you're using, because if you're wasting sats on paying transaction withdrawal fees, I mean, think about what those sats are going to be worth in 10 years from now that you're just wasting because you haven't, taken the time to figure it out. But the other thing here too is don't ever just use one address, right? And the reason why you use more than one address is for privacy reasons. Because when let's say you spend all this time building up, you get to 1 Bitcoin and you have all that 1 Bitcoin in one address. And in 10 years from now, you want to buy yourself a new motorbike and you meet the guy in the parking lot and you send him from your device, you send him 20,000 sats and he looks at the transaction, he looks at your address, and he can see all the transactions you've ever made in your life. And you can see all the balance in there. You can see that you have 1 Bitcoin, and he follows you to your house and sees where you live. And the next week you have 10 guys lined up at your front door saying, give us your Bitcoin. We know that you have $1 million on this address, which you can access from this device. Forget all the MicroStrategy stuff that I talked about for half an hour. That's what people need to be most focused on. This is when you need to be building the foundation for the future scenarios like that. Between UTXO management, between transaction fees, between key management, between privacy, different addresses, different UTXOs, labels on your transactions, that's where the living in the future is valuable. And that's where the multi-generational wealth series is valuable. Because if you didn't understand anything that I said there, you're going to be in a lot of trouble in the future. Because buying Bitcoin is the easy part, but holding it, managing it, and protecting it and yourself is the hardest part and the most important part. And the only time to be worrying about that is today. Oh yeah, I need some brekkie here. Oh. Strike is gas if you only use credit cards to pay instead of holding fiat. Transfer and sell within seconds to pay off debt from credit cards. Super easy. Lets you hold max Bitcoin and minimum fiat. Yep. That's probably the strategy here, especially for these next 12 months, is using like a Strike or using a Bitcoin Well account. So let me show you kind of what that looks like, and then we'll wrap her up for today. Thank you, Jor, for the consistency. Well, thanks to everybody for consistently showing up here and actually taking active measures to, protect this multi-generational wealth. Okay, well, we're going to do two things here. I'm going to give away some more sats. I don't know why. I just feel like giving some back here to the community for people showing up here every day, contributing to the show. I feel like I owe you some. So get your phones out quickly, and we're going to give away some more sats here. We gave away 2,100 already today, and we're going to give away at least 500 more sats here. Ready? Set. Go. I might join in on one of these one day. 500 sats, another 500 sats. I guess, no, not another one, but 500 sats going to some lucky soul in the chat today. Okay. There you go. So as Mikhail was talking about here, let me show you here. So here's what you can do. You go to, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, you just go to pay your bills. So you set Bitcoin Well up as a payee, or you add a payee into this. So you would search your credit card company, right? So you could use Bitcoin on-chain or Lightning. And so you'd go to your, I don't know, let's say WestJet credit card or something. I don't know, whatever your credit card company is, the payee. Might be MasterCard. There you go. MasterCard, Alberta Treasury, like you can use all these, MasterCard, BMO. So you put in whatever credit card you have there, you put in your account number, and you should be able to find this. I mean, if you pay your online bills for your credit card, you'll be able to have this information. So you just put it into here, and then you can make payments for your credit card, rent, tuition, and more. And so then you actually don't need to hold any money in your bank account, right? Because all you do is you just use your credit card. That's how you pay for everything. You pay with your credit card. And then every month, every time your credit card's due, you just send some Bitcoin to Bitcoin Well, and you can pay it from here. You don't have to hold any money in your bank account anymore. Isn't that fucking crazy? I mean, probably if you have a mortgage or something like that, but we're already there. We're already there. And you just have to kind of take it slow, obviously, but this is the kind of stuff that you need to be doing to take advantage of where we are right now. Okay, we're going to wrap things up. These shows are getting way too long. So I just hate leaving comments behind here because it's important. That's why we're doing this whole channel here. So, all right. This is, if you learned anything from today, if you've been learning anything from this channel, getting any value, you can send some Bitcoin to our good buddy, Arnie. Right there, he's sleeping. That's his wallet. And there's been people, we got 3,000 sats. We got 1,088 so far today for Arnie's wallet there. So that's the best way to do it. If you want to, if the QR code isn't working for you there, you can use that address there. And tomorrow is Tuesday. So we have a couple bids in the jukebox, Bitcoin jukebox. The current high bid is 3,000 sats with a request attached to it. And if you want to bump them, if you want to have your song played at the start of tomorrow's show, you can send more than 3,000 sats to the wallet and send your request in the description. It's kind of cool. Bitcoin jukebox, 100% of the proceeds for that go to our rescue dog fund, where we have over 100,000 sats now in there. So probably as that goes up, I'm going to send some to UTXO, and then I'm going to have to get a couple people from the community here to help manage it, because when we're dealing with that kind of stuff, I don't want it just to be me as a single point of failure. So that's one way to support the show. The other way you can join as a Bitcoin Journeyman from the channel here. I recommend the Living in the Future. You can get that second one down from in the show notes. It says Living in the Future. It's $5 a month. The value 10x is the cost, in my opinion. Plus, you got the Multi-Generational Wealth series. We're on episode 5 this week. We're going to do that tomorrow. And you'll get the first 4 episodes included in that. So that's if you received any value. If you didn't, if you just like watching the show, hoping Arnie shows up sometime, then that's okay. Don't worry about it. And if you don't have any money to spend, don't worry about it. You can like the show, you can share it, you can leave a comment, you can do it, things that don't cost money to help give some value back this way. So for everybody else who has been sending money and zaps and everything in, very much appreciated. It's the only thing keeping me going here. That's for sure. So I just see that somebody zapped 1,000 sats over on Zapstream as well. So thank you for that. All right. Have yourselves an amazing day. I'm sure I'll get a lot of backlash on the last MicroStrategy clip, but we're going to focus on Bitcoin. We're going to focus on the opportunity, and we're going to focus on not only buying, storing, but earning Bitcoin in 2025. So have yourselves a great day. Looks like Daniel got the zaps there, the 500 sats. And once again, get yourself an account at Bitcoin Well if you're in Canada or in the US, and start doing things properly. Start doing things properly here. Oh, we got some more zaps coming in. Hold on. 88 sats. Thank you, Letha. Thank you for all the support. Letha's been here from almost day one. And CS says, I remember being your 887th subscriber, and I made my partner become your 888th. This channel is going to do extremely well in 2025. You're one of the better, authentic ones. God bless. It's a good way to end it. Thank you. I love, I love the zaps. I love the super chats. I love the support in the community. But it's stuff like that that really gets me out of the bed in the morning. So again, even if you don't have money to spend or spare, that's the kind of stuff that keeps this train moving. So thank you for that. I didn't mean to get emotional there, but thank you. And thank you to Basuro Bros. Thank you. Your channel is great. All right. Have a great Monday, everybody. Focus on Bitcoin. And remember, the only thing more scarce than Bitcoin is time. So enjoy it. Have a great day. We'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow for Tuesday. And Arnie showed up to say goodbye. Okay. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.